Let's speak to James Price. He's a former government special advisor. James, you're very welcome to the programme. Should Tim Davie resign?
Hello, my friend. Thank you for having me on. Should he resign? I think that he's probably the best that they've got. It's a bit like when I say on talk regularly that Rachel Reeves is the best that Labour have got. So
what
getting
a
rid of her
terrifying
things
thought.
get worse. Exactly right. I think that Tim Davie is probably the best they've got. You know, you'll have done this as well. When you walk into the BBC main headquarters, you really do feel that you are in the sort of epicenter of a sort of woke progressivist sludge where everybody might look very different, but everybody thinks exactly the same thing. And Tim Davie's the one person who seemed vaguely sensible and sane. So if you get rid of him, goodness knows who the Labour Party will put in to replace him, because they'll probably have a big say in this. Or if not, who else it'll be coming up by it. And if you don't get rid of all of the other people who missed all of these issues for decades, you're not going to change the organisation.
Well, I don't think every single person at the BBC thinks the same thing, but I know what you mean about the woke progressivist sludge. I was chatting to a very senior BBC broadcaster just after the council elections, and she admitted to me that she absolutely did not see the Reform UK tidal wave of council election results coming. I could have told them, 2 years, 3 years ago that was going to happen. I wonder if we could take these separately, James. First of all, talking about Greg Wallace. I mean, 19 years of allegations. They knew about it and they did nothing.
It's just really weird, isn't it? Because it doesn't seem like he's the most...
But it's not weird. That's the point. The fact is, it's not weird. This keeps happening over and over again with these ghastly people.
Well, exactly. But he's not exactly the most sympathetic figure. He's not exactly able to hide behind many of the things that the BBC would normally try and have a blind eye to, except for this sort of late 11th hour, I'm neurodivergent and that's why I can't wear pants line, which is, you've worked in and around journalism and PR for a long time. It's one of the weirder ones I've ever heard, certainly. But why has this guy been able to get away with it? As you say, it speaks to a deep institutional rot that if people manage to get themselves on their shows, then they're sort of almost untouchable. And people who are watching the live stream now can see him there with some kind of gong that he's received at Windsor Castle. Why? How did this guy get away with it? I've not got the answers for you beyond the fact that there is one rule for insiders in the BBC and another rule for everybody else.
It's not just the BBC. It's not just the BBC. I was told by a senior executive in another media organisation, not this one and not the BBC, but another media organisation, when I was complaining about a particularly awful presenter who I'd worked with, and this person said, Peter, there's one rule for presenters and there's one rule for everybody else, and that is unfortunately the case. Can we talk about the BBC Gaza film breaching editorial guidelines? Because a quick Google search by one of our people, our guests later on, revealed that the narrator of this documentary was wearing a Hamas headband, standing beside a Hamas terrorist and holding a machine gun. But apparently the researcher and the translator for this documentary, I use the word loosely, didn't know that the young man who was narrating the documentary was related to a senior figure in Hamas, who the BBC of course call an official, and I'm going to call him what he is, which is a terrorist.
Yeah, well, first of all, you are dead right. They are indeed terrorists. And hopefully they'll all soon be dead or defeated terrorists as well. But I think this one is easier to understand why. And it's the fact that almost everybody inside the BBC wants to believe the very worst about Israelis. I'd go so far as to say an awful lot of them want to believe the very worst about Jews as well, because this seems to happen again and again and again. And you get this not just with the BBC, but with a lot of kind of media-lovey, lefty types, that when something happens, it is a case of what you would call motivated reasoning. Not do I believe this to be true, but can I believe this to be true? And I think one example of this was when that hospital was hit by a rocket in Gaza, and immediately Hamas said, it was Israel, and that got plastered around the world. It was a lie, and it got plastered around the world before the truth had time to put on its trousers. Actually, it was a member of another terrorist organization in Gaza, and their rocket had misfired and malfunctioned and gone and hit innocent people there. And that happens again and again. But I think it's because some of these people just hate Jews. Most of them just hate Israel. They don't like it that Jews are no longer willing to be victims and lay down and take it anymore. And I think that as a result, you get this kind of mad propaganda. There's one figure who pops up again and again and again in all these sorts of TikTok and Instagram videos and official Palestinian Authority videos. And he's been killed 18 times. He's been a doctor. He's been a father. He's been a son. He's been a footballer. And this guy's like an extra in every shot that keeps coming up, because the only thing that comes out of Gaza other than terrorists is lies. And this is an example that, as you said, the world's biggest news organization managed to fall for, and it shows just how rotten and rancid the place is.
Yes, certainly. And we're talking as well about Donald Trump as well. He's in the White House right now. James, we'll leave it there if that's okay. We'll just